thank you for joining me for this this course. What we're going to learn, this is the second part of a three-part series on what I call the 3 woes and 3 trumpets. And this allows us to chronologically put Revelation in order in the proper manner. There's so much confusion in the biblical community on how Revelation should be laid out, and it's confusing, and so we're trying to show you the proper method of being able to determine how to do this. Excuse me, I do have a cold, so if I cough, I am very sorry. So in the first video, in part 1, we indicated that you read Revelation properly by reading chapter 1 through 10, chapter 15, 16, and then 20, 21, and 22. Chapter 11, 12, 13, and 14, 17, 18, and 19 reinforce interior chapters of those upper chapters I just mentioned, basically 8 through 16. So I'll sort of put some of that in the dialogue, and then we'll go through and show you how that works. So we're up to the point where Jesus has been selected to open the 7 seals. And so he's opened the first seal. You see the white horseman, which is, I believe, Gog. Gog is the president of Turkey, and I believe he's also the first seal of Revelation. So Gog of Ezekiel 38-39 is the white horseman. Both of them show that they have a bow and a crown, and they go forth in conquering. If you look at Ezekiel 38-39, it indicates twice in 38 that this is in latter days. We actually see the 6th seal break, which we're going to see here in just a second. In Ezekiel 38:19 through 22, and then just shortly after that, if you go into Ezekiel 39, in Ezekiel 39:3, you're going to indicates that he's the white horseman, because the bow has been knocked out of his hand and the arrows have fallen to the ground, and God is going to kill him on the 6th seal during that earthquake event. At least that's my interpretation. That is a new interpretation, and we're in the process of trying to figure out whether how that exactly works. But that is my interpretation. Is the first seal is Gog, and that you have to watch Erdogan, excuse my language, Erdogan of Turkey, because he went into Syria on January 21st, and I believe that broke the first seal. And as he moves to Israel, he'll break the 6th seal as he tries to capture the Temple Mount on that occasion. So what he's going to do is he'll join his 10 nations, and they'll go in and attack Israel and try to take the Temple Mount on the 6th seal. We have this huge earthquake event that affects the whole planet, and will affect us and our infrastructure over here, so that is a problem. So on chapter 7, we see the 4 angels holding the 4 winds. You're going to watch that, because that's going to show up here real soon. Again, they're going to release the 4 winds here in a minute. Not right now. They're holding them until God select 144,000 are sealed right before the 7th seal is released. So you see the 7th seal is released. We have about a half an hour of silence, and that is about 7.5 days, or about a week. And now this is what I'm saying. There's a number of people who think the 7 seals, trumps, and bowls overlap. And I don't believe that, because this is a good example right here. The 7th seal is opened. You have just had the elect 144,000 sealed, You have a silence of half an hour because God just wasted Antichrist, or I mean Gog, on the sixth seal and all of his army. So he's, he wants to take a little time off. And the seven angels are given the seven trumpets. So it's after the seven seals. That's what the Bible says. You can read it for yourself. And I'm not adding anything to these words. And it tells, excuse my cough, tells us it's the seven angels that have the seven trumpets prepared to sound them. So what do we see? The first, in chapter 8, we see the first four seals, or first four trumpets, excuse my language, they're given trumpets, have sounded, which I have said for a while that these first five trumpets are in quick procession. And if you look at Babylon, you notice also that the seven bowls are in pretty quick procession, because it tells us that Babylon is destroyed in an hour. And so, that's about 15 days on the biblical calendar. So, after the fourth angel sounds his trumpet, you have three woes. Okay? And this is really, really important. He tells you three woes are going to happen with three last trumpets, the fifth, sixth, and seventh trumpet. So we want to watch these woes and the last three trumpets throughout this remainder of the book. And it will tell you that they're going to move back and forth between chapters, but there's only seven seals, seven trumpets, and seven bowls. Plain and simple. There's no more than that, no less than that. And they don't overlap. So he tells us, when the three angels, which are yet to sound, they haven't sounded yet, but they're getting ready to, and in this next chapter, in 9, you're going to see two of them sound. Okay, in the next two chapters, excuse me. So the fifth angel sounds, the bottomless pit opens up, he gives him the key, the scorpions come out, they torment the men without the seal of God for 5 months, but don't kill them. The first woe is past. There's two more woes to come. You have the sixth trumpet. This is Michael standing on the two edges of the bottomless pit on the sea and earth with his hand up to heaven, bringing Satan down, impregnating the false prophet, and resurrecting Gog into Antichrist in the valley of Hamon-Gog. And it tells us that he lets the four winds loose, so they're not held anymore, and to prepare for the 1260 days, or the 42 months. Okay, so I put this in a different color because it's important that you keep an eye on these 42 months or 1260 days. So he sounded the first, or the fifth trumpet, first woe's passed, got two left. Where am I at? There you go, chapter 10. I think the mighty angel is Michael. Some people think it's Jesus. That's a different day conversation, but I believe it's Michael. But the mighty angel comes down from heaven, has his foot on the sea, foot on the earth. It's where the two beasts come from, false prophet and Antichrist. When the seven thunders had uttered their voices, this is the seven trumps, but we're only going to see 6 of them sound before he says stop. Because the seventh one does not sound. It says, in the days of the voice of the seventh angel, not right now, later, it's coming, you will see the mystery of God happen. That actually doesn't happen until quite a bit later, actually. And you're going to see that on chapter 15. And what I'm saying about that is, that's why 11, 12, 13, and 14 are reinforcement chapters of 8 through 16, because you're going to see that the seventh trump doesn't sound And he tells him that when you see the 7 angels come out, you're going to know that that 7th trump sounds. So what happens on the 15th chapter? He's talking about the 7 angels giving the last 7 plagues. So it goes from 10 to 15. Okay? 11, 12, 13, and 14 are all reinforcement chapters. So let's go to 11. I'll sort of explain what I mean by this. So he's going to reiterate the 42 months a lot. And he's going to reiterate the 5th, 6th trumpet with the 7th trumpet on the end occasionally. Okay, and we'll go over what I mean by this. So for 42 months, the Gentiles tread on the holy city. Gentiles, nations, the Jews, everybody. You're not going to be pre-raptured. It's not going to happen. You better figure out you're going to be here. And you're going to be here till the 7th trump. So, once Gog breaks that seal, you got at least 1,335 days after the first trumpet, or actually after the 6th trumpet happens, and Satan impregnates false prophet and brings Antichrist back, and until the 7th trumpet when the Lord comes back. So there's, and I'm saying the 1,335. Now we know that there's 1,260 days to abomination, but it tells us that there are blessed people if they make it to 1335 and they shorten the second half. So I'm guessing there's a reason for that. That's another conversation. So what's happened? He is telling us that now that Antichrist is back on the 6th trumpet, we're going to have 42 months until abomination. The 2 witnesses appear. You got 42 months that they prophesize. They'll be killed after the 42 months on abomination, because Satan, or Antichrist, I shouldn't say Satan, it's Antichrist, will overcome them, and they will lay in the street for 3.5 days, and then they will be brought back in spirit and then taken up to heaven. Wow, look at that. The second woe is past. Well, the second woe is in what chapter? 8 or 9. I'll have to go back and look real quick. Oh, excuse me, I'm a little off. I'm sorry. Okay, so we're in the second woe. That's in chapter 9. Okay? First woe is past. There's 2 more woes to come. Make sure I'm in the right place here. You have the second woe occur. And so, chapter 11 is telling you the same thing. You're going to have 42 months, 2 witnesses come out, they have 42 months to prophesize, and then the second woe is past. So, look, they're just reiterating the same thing over again. They're reinforcing John's vision. Because at the very end of chapter 10, he's given that little book, which then brings him into a new vision, because he doesn't want to show him the end yet. He wants to reinforce what he just told him. So he's telling him, okay, they got another one coming up. And the 7th angel sounded. Well, the 7th angel isn't really sounding here. He's sounding it, but it actually happens in chapter 15 when he releases the angels with the 7 trumps, with the 7 plagues. So it goes from 10 to 15. Chapter 11 reinforces the 42 months to the second woe, third woe. 15 chapter starts, and we see the 7th trump, or the third woe, happen, and the plagues and the 7 bowls start to fall. Okay? But look at 12. It's no different. Tells us that there's 7 heads on 10 horns, talking about the nations that go against Israel. The red dragon. Third part of the heaven falls with Satan. 6th trumpet. Michael's throwing down Satan right now to create the 2 beasts, the sea and the earth. And look at that. Wow. That's what I was talking. Michael's huge here. For 4, should have done that one. should have marked that one. I'm going to mark it now. That way you guys can see it. There you go again. You got the 1260 days or the 42 months, and guess who's in charge? Michael. Michael's in charge against the dragon, and he takes and throws him to the planet, which is the sixth trump or the second woe. He even tells you, woe to the inhabitants of the sea and earth. Wow, crazy. And the devil has come down. And for 42 months, we are going to create destruction upon a planet. This is the sixth and second woe. That's what this is all about. Go to the 13th chapter. Same thing. Beast rise up from the sea, has 10 horns. Sixth trumpet. Gets authority from the dragon for 42 months. Makes war against the saints. Another beast comes up from the earth. That's the Pope, probably, that converts the churches into the Islamic religion. That's the sixth trump and the second woe. All of it. All of 13. That's all that is. Sixth trump, second woe. And actually, I'm going to change this because I didn't have that written either. Got a lot going on here, guys. Sorry. So, that's all what 13's about. That's all of what 13's about is the sixth trump. Then on the chapter 14, we talk about the sealed 144,000 again. This is the seventh seal right before that. Okay? And you can also talk about the many waters. That's the martyrs, probably under the altar. That's probably the fifth seal. I may have that wrong, so let me go back and look at that. But anyway, that's not what this is about. I'll have to check that. They all have their harps, so this is rap. This would be, let's see, heard voice from heaven, many waters. This is the multitude of the people that are with the sealed. There's 144,000. They're the first fruits. When Jesus come back on the seventh trump or the third woe, and the seven bowls then are being poured out. And then what's really cool is this. Okay, he starts talking about the fall of Babylon. Well, that's chapter 17, 18, and 19. Okay, so he's telling you up front, now watch for the ball of Babylon, because I'm going to tell you about that here in a minute, after we show you about the seven bowls. I mean, this book is amazing. It's the most incredible book. I've never seen anything like it. And the theme runs through the whole Bible like this. It's incredible. So he's talking about the seven bowls, and that the patience of the saints have to be had for the 42 months or probably the 1335 days. Okay, this is where the patience of the saints come in, that they cannot be taking the mark of the beast. And that on the seventh trumpet, the Son of Man will come back down and he will reap everybody. You see that? He'll reap his people, bring them to heaven, and then he'll create havoc upon Antichrist and the false prophet in the wrath of God. This is all in chapter 14, okay? You go to 15 and look at that. Now he's finally giving the seven bowls out and the seventh trumpet has sounded. This is the third woe. Hasn't happened up to this point. Not really. You can look at these reiteration of these chapters, and all of this stuff from 11 through 14 are telling you that they're coming, that they're going to happen. But they always start out with a 42 months or a sixth trumpet before the seventh trumpet. Well, there's not multiple trumpets. There's just seven trumpets altogether with three woes attached to the last three. So you have to look at how these chapters are set up. There you go again. That's the wrong color, but 42 months. Michael does all this. Sixth trump, second woe, second woe. I mean, it just doesn't end. This is how you read Revelations, okay? Or Revelation, excuse my language. Sixth trump, again on the 13th one, that's all about sixth trump. And you go to the 14th and we seal them on the seventh seal. You have the seventh trumpet after the 42 months and all that stuff. And then he starts blowing out the seven bowls. And he's going to then talk about, after that, the fall of Babylon. Wow, which is 17, 18, and 19. So we go to the 15th chapter. 15 and 16 are exclusively about the seven bowls. So, if you go from chapter 10, he tells you he hasn't sounded them yet. And 11, 12, 13, and 14, a reiteration or reinforcement of what all I'm talking about here. But on the 15th chapter, I'm going to release the bowls. I'm going to have, and this is really interesting. Think about this. Okay, the seventh trumpet is happening right here. And he tells you that the people that haven't taken the mark of the beast and that have triumphed over Satan will be taken up. They'll be given harps. They'll be given 2 songs to sing. And then we'll start dropping the bowls on the ground. That's when rapture happens. Right after the seventh trump. Then on 16, it's all about the bowls. First bowl, second bowl, third bowl, fourth bowl, fifth bowl. All this is fairly quick. Okay, and on the sixth bowl, or actually on the fifth bowl, we start to see, or actually the sixth bowl, excuse me, the 3 unclean spirits, the frogs that come out of the dragon, the beast, and the false prophet. And what happens? The false prophet and the Antichrist are thrown in the lake of fire. And then we start, guess what? Talking about Babylon again. Huh, crazy, isn't that? It's an amazing book. So we're into chapter 16. Now we're going to do from 16. Now we're not going to do 17, 18, and 19 tonight because I want to go back into that and explain how that works in the fall of Babylon. And this is something totally different on the reinforcement chapters of 11, 12, 13, and 14 to show you how this all works. So now on chapter 16, he drops the 7 bowls and then starts talking about Babylon. Okay. And then all the men are, mad and they're going to then, destroy Babylon because everybody's upset because Antichrist and false prophet are dead or they're in the lake of fire. And what happens right after that? Now you're in chapter 16. 17, 18, 9 reinforce and 19 reinforce the destruction of Babylon. But then we go right to chapter 20. And what happens? Right after you throw Antichrist and false prophet in the lake of fire, we bind Satan because he's the third frog, the third unclean spirit. He's thrown in the lake, or thrown in the bottomless pit for 1,000 years. Okay? We have the first resurrection. He's loosened after the 1,000 years for a short period of time, and if you make it through that, you get the first resurrection. And this is the second Magog War, because the first Magog War is during the first seal when the president of Turkey goes down into Syria, collects his 10 nations, and then I believe dies on the 6th seal when he attacks Israel. And look at this. After 1,000 years have finished, he's going to throw the devil into the lake of fire. So think about that. On chapter 16, he's thrown the other 2 in the lake of fire. We're talking about destruction of Babylon because we're throwing down the bowls. We go to 20, Satan is bound 1,000 years, he's released, and then he, again, is thrown in the lake of fire. So even Satan doesn't get away. And that's where the false prophet and the Antichrist are, and they're tormented forever. Anyone after that that, is raised is the second death. Anyone that isn't found at that point, and there's nobody left of God that has a seal, all these people are then also cast in the lake of fire. And you also see Hades and hell, I believe, thrown in there also. 21 is that New Jerusalem is going to come down, and we have seen the first heaven and the earth pass away. New Jerusalem is coming down. God's bride is here. And then he tells John, I want you to come here because I'm going to show you my beautiful bride. And he goes through the description of the city on chapter 21 at the bottom, and also chapter 22. And it's amazing that in chapter 22, after he describes of this, he tells us that all this is going to happen in later days, and that we should not, I love this, we should not now seal up this book, that we should use it to understand that the end days are coming. And that we need to be warning people, because wow, Jesus just placed a warning on the very end of this last chapter. And it's to you, not the Jews, not the churches, not to anyone in specific other than you, the person reading this book that's holding it in his hand at this very moment. So God's warning you that you could lose your crowns and your rewards if you don't hold your faith till the end. Excuse me. And that is until the seventh trump, when our Lord comes back. So, things I want you to think about. The proper chronological order of the Bible is this: chapter 1 through 10, then chapter 15 and 16, and then chapter 20, 21, and 22. Chapter 11, 12, 13, and 14 are reiteration or reinforcement of chapter 8 to 16, basically. Excuse me. And once you get to chapter 16, then it goes to 20, because 17, 18, and 19 are reinforcement or reiteration of also basically chapter 8 through 16, because you can follow the woes and trumps and the 60 days again. But this is all, the 17, 18, and 19 is all just about the destruction of Babylon. But he has to take you to the beginning and the end of Babylon to get you to where he destroys the three kings that come over from the east after Wormwood has been thrown down and the Euphrates has been dried up, and then he throws the Antichrist and false prophet in the lake of fire and binds Satan, and then we have the end of the story. So that's how you read this. I will do a third part on the three woes and three trumps coming up, which will go over the fall of Babylon and how that occurs, and how that reinforces all the chapters above this in chapter 8 through 16. So God bless, and thank you for watching.